Hi there, everybody. Bonnie here. We are here for an AMA. Ask me anything. I'm going to wait a minute or two, let people come on in and, ask me any questions that you have around intuitive eating. We had an amazing webinar last night. It was so fun. It was awesome. And, excuse me, for those who did join and show up, they got a lot out of it. I'm just checking all my connections here to make sure things are working. Let's see. Are we working? All right, we're good. We are good. All right, let me get my chat box up. So today we're here for an AMA. This is a bit of a follow-up to last night's webinar. So last night, the webinar was 3 steps to eating for healthy living using the intuitive eating blueprint. And if you were there, you know how valuable the information was that I shared. And if you weren't able to be there live, but you did register, then you were lucky enough to get the replay, which was sent out quite late last night, and hoping you had a chance to listen to the replay. On the webinar, I did share the 3 steps that you want to take now to learn how to eat for healthy living. And I shared my intuitive eating blueprint. And I said that I was going to do an AMA today. Ask me any questions you have. Lots of questions came in. I had a Google form available. So if you submitted a question, I'm definitely going to get to it today. If you didn't get a chance to submit your question, no problem, because we can do it right here live. You can just use the chat box and go ahead and pop your question in. But as people are coming in, if you can, just come say hello. Just put your name in the chat box. Say hello. Tell me who you are, where you are watching me from. And if you, in fact, were on the webinar last night, I always love to know that. So I'm going to, let me just get that chat box up again. I don't know. It disappeared. Hold on a second. All right. I think I got my chat box up now. So come say hello. Tell me who's here and let me know if you are at the webinar or not, and if you want the replay. So before I get started with the questions, again, I'm just waiting for a couple more people to show up, but this will be on replay. It'll be living here forever on my YouTube channel. It will be in the Facebook group. I will also send it out in an email later today. So if you didn't catch it live, you're catching it probably on that replay. On the webinar last night, I did invite you all into my Intuitive Eating Basics course. You see that kind of on the bottom of your screen right there. It is a special that I'm opening it up for you where you can actually get support with the program. So you can work through the modules at your own pace, but get the needed support that really we all need. When you decide to give up dieting, it's a lonely journey to do it on your own. And so I wanted to make this, number one, very affordable and accessible for people to be able to go through the modules to help break down diet culture, dismantle your dieting culture messages, redefine your self-worth so that you're not tied to a number, and really get the support you need. And that support is coming straight up to you in my In Circle. The In Circle stands for the Intuitive Nutrition Circle. And so we have a wonderful group of women there who support each other on a daily basis and are ready to support you as well. So the link is up on the screen. That's all I'll say about it now. intuitiveeatingbasics.com/with support. The doors do close on Friday. So get in there now. And for those of you who have already taken fast action, you already received in your email my Food is Your Ally recipe, meals and recipe ebook. And that ebook contains 36 meals, breakfast, lunches, and dinners to give you inspiration. Because here's the thing, when we're dieting, and I'm going to talk more about that because some of the questions that came in really reflected about hunger. When you're dieting, oftentimes, if not more than often, all the time, your hunger signals or the gentle hunger signals go silent. And it's very important to nourish yourself. So you're nourishing your body, you're nourishing your brain in order for the signals to be reignited. And so this ebook is really helpful because it gives you inspiration for nourishing yourself as part of self-care while you're working on your intuitive eating journey. So that is a fast action bonus, which is yours if you join us by 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. So you've got about an hour, but we'll keep it up until after the end of today's AMA. How's that? So let me jump into the questions. If you're with me live and you have a question that you didn't get to submit or a question that's coming up as I'm running through these questions, please put it into the chat box. In addition to that, I really, really, really like interacting with you. So if you're here, say hello and comment on some of the responses that I'm giving. Maybe you're going to resonate with some of the questions that other people submitted. All right, ready? Here we go. Question number 1. I'm sure my metabolism has slowed from all my dieting. Can a slowed metabolism from dieting be improved? I think this question comes up like all the time. Every time I do an AMA, somebody submits this question, which is a great question. It's a very valid question because the truth is, yes, your metabolism will be impacted by your years of chronic dieting. And again, yes, you can begin to regulate your metabolism once your body begins to heal from starvation. Now, I say starvation because when you are under eating, when you're dieting, you're under eating is pretty much a semi-starved state. So when you lift that starvation, there's no more restriction. You are nourishing your body. Again, another key reason why that ebook that I shared with you just a moment ago is so valuable. When you begin to nourish your body and you begin to provide it the nutrition it needs and sufficient nutrition without that restriction, then guess what? You will be able to regulate your metabolism. Fueling and nourishing yourself to support a healthy metabolism is key. Now, remember, here's something really important, right? We don't know what your body is going to do when you stop dieting, but we do know that you can do something to help that. You can help your body, okay? Now, the question, this question, you see, another thing about dieting, right, is the diet mentality, which oftentimes is very blatant. Like when you speak or you know, oh, that's my diet mentality thinking. But oftentimes it's super sneaky. Okay. So when it's super sneaky, you have to get really, just keep on your tippy toes to start. That's the sneaky diet mentality. So the question that the person who submitted this question, really the underlying factor with asking a question about metabolism would be what? Like, what do you think? You probably know, you can write it in the chat box. It's about weight loss, right? And it's so important to unpack this weight piece of this. It's very, very crucial. So the reality, and there's my phone, we're going to ignore it. So let the machine pick it up. The reality is, and I'm sorry if that's bothering you, the ringing. The reality is that someone with a history of weight cycling will have a more difficult time healing their metabolism. And we know that when you diet over and over and over again, right? So let me step back. There's a set point theory. Let me do it this way. There's a set point theory. And that basically means that every person has a genetically predetermined set point weight. And every time you diet and you lose weight and you drop below that set point weight, well, your brain monitors your needs and it's like, oh no, I need to save her. So it causes you to, number one, slow the metabolism down, number two, to preserve energy and fuel, and number two, it increases hunger so that you need to eat to bring yourself back up to what that weight set point is. Over time, up and down, up and down, up and down, sometimes that weight set point will change. I will talk about this at another point. I do have a full-on training in the intuitive eating program about set point weight. It is something we do talk about in depth in the In Circle as well. Point is that the longer somebody is harboring a fantasy of, well, I'm going to lose weight by doing intuitive eating, or if that is a question in their mind, then the harder it is for you to really learn to eat intuitively, because that is keeping you entrenched in diet mentality and it doesn't allow you to regain trust in yourself and trust in your body. So, I do believe, I've seen it time and time again, metabolisms can become re-regulated for sure, but we don't know what's going to happen with your body. Now, that is another question that's come up. So I'm going to save that for a little bit of time, and we're going to answer that question a little more directly. Okay. Second question is, I'm scared to diet. Oh, no, this is the second question. Look at that. They both came in right after the other. I'm scared to stop dieting because I will gain weight. How can I make sure not to gain weight during this process? Okay. It's a very common fear. This is a very common fear, and you're not alone. But you really can't, quote unquote, make your body do anything, right? So, what I encourage you to do is look at your history. You tried to already make your body shrink, right, in size. And how long did that last? It did not last, right? So, the fear of weight gain by lifting the dieting is a very common and understandable fear, but all the things you've done in the past to try to help you shrink your body and lose that weight really didn't pan out for you. We talked last night on the webinar that you're probably at a higher weight today than you were before the first diet that you ever went on, right? Would you agree to that? Because that's what most people on the training agreed, that yeah, that is so true. I am totally at a higher weight. Intuitive Eating Basics and all my intuitive eating programs are weight neutral programs. That means that we don't focus on weight. It's not a weight centered program, it's weight neutral. When you learn to listen to your body and trust your body will naturally land where it feels best based on your genetic blueprint. So that's the genetic blueprint that I mentioned a moment ago. You have a predetermined weight set point. You were born with that in your genetic blueprint. When you lift this restriction and you learn to listen to your signals and you learn to trust them, because you may listen and hear them, but not trust them. So trust is a very important factor. Then your body will naturally land where it feels best, and you will see that your weight will begin to stabilize. And so you probably have heard about that pendulum swinging. Let me review it for those of you who haven't heard. Remember, if anything I say is resonating with you, or if you have a follow-up question on anything, please put it in the chat box. Okay. So you're dieting, and so you're restricting. So your pendulum is all the way up here. Tight, 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 tight. Can't have. Restriction, restriction, restriction. Now you say, well, I'm giving up dieting and I'm, quote unquote, doing intuitive eating. That pendulum for some people, swing all the way to the other side. Now it's all the way up here. Oftentimes we describe that as diet land to donut land, right? Doesn't have to be donuts. It could be anything that you've restricted. And now you're like, okay, bring it on. I can eat this. Oh my gosh, there's no tuning in. It's just bringing in all these foods that you've restricted. So now you're up here. So ultimately, over time, as you become comfortable with foods, meaning all foods become neutral to you, emotionally neutral to you. So that pendulum is now going to swing back down here into the middle. So that ultimately, what happens, with intuitive eating, some people lose weight, some people may gain weight, some people may stay the same. But ultimately, what does happen, and by the way, it all depends where you're coming into this process. If you're coming into this process, excuse me, with a restrictive eating disorder and you've suppressed your weight for years by not feeding it properly, then you may regain some weight that you need to regain to get you back to what is your natural weight and a healthier weight for you. Other people may lose weight as they normalize their eating, but what I could tell you is this: your weight up and down, that roller coaster of your weight, that's going to stop. Your weight will stabilize. So this question, again, let's go back to what the question was. The person is scared to stop dieting, although they realize that dieting hasn't helped them at all. But their biggest fear is weight gain. Now, a big factor to this weight gain is we live in a very weight-centric, fat-phobic world, right? So for most of us, listen, you've been trying for a long time to change your body, so it's not realistic for me to say to anybody, well, don't stop wanting to lose weight. I mean, that is ridiculous for me to think, and I would never think that. But it's also not realistic to wake up one day and love everything about your body, right? Or snap out of these beliefs that you have necessarily, because we live in this diet culture. So, all I'm suggesting to you is that what will happen to your weight, just understand we don't know. Don't expect you're going to gain weight. Don't expect you're going to lose weight. Try to take this desire, kind of put it on a shelf and say, look, I hear you, I see you, I know you really well because I've had this desire for a really long time, but everything I've done to try to do this weight loss thing never really sustainably worked for me. So I see you, but I'm not intentionally acting right now to try to lose weight because I am really going to learn to trust myself again. And I want to just get rid of all these diet culture messages, which have been more harm than good for you on a physical level as well as a mental health level. So I'm hoping that's helpful. Please let me know if that answers the question for the person who submitted the question. Um, and I know this is a really, really hard piece of it, but we're in a strong community. The women are all understanding of each other in my community. So if you do decide to take a leap of faith with the Intuitive Eating Basics with Support program, you will be supported through this as well, the worry about weight gain. All right. Next question. And by the way, if you're here with me and you have a question you didn't submit, please pop it into the chat box. Okay. How do you handle diet? There's another question that came in. How do you handle, quote unquote, I should use air quotes, diet when you're faced with health issues like high cholesterol, prediabetes, diabetes, and you're looking to keep from exacerbating these issues? Another very common question that I get all the time, and again, a very valid question. And here's the reason why that's a valid question, because most doctors are going to say, hey, you have diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, you need to lose weight because that'll heal, that'll help lower cholesterol, that'll help unclog your arteries, and so on. Now, the problem with that recommendation is as follows. There is no evidence-based research to support intentional dieting as a sustainable treatment. It just doesn't work. I've shared a story before where it wasn't me, but a colleague was presenting to about 100 physicians and asked the physicians, how many of you, by raise a hand, how many of you have prescribed weight loss for most every condition that someone comes into your office with if they're in a larger body? And all hands, for the most part, maybe 90% of hands went up. And then she said, and how many of you have made that recommendation to the same patients several times? Hands went up. Every hand went up. It was really revealing, right? It's revealing. You're making the same recommendation over and over again, but clearly it's not working. So let's think about another recommendation. And here's why it doesn't work. Weight loss is not a behavior. Weight loss is an outcome of habit and behavior changes. It's a very important point. Weight loss is not a behavior. You can't go out and learn the skill of weight loss. Just not. It's not a behavior. But if you make certain changes, then perhaps that will be an outcome. So it's not helpful for doctors to tell you that. So if you have a health issue, you can absolutely embrace the concepts of intuitive eating while learning to honor your health. I do this all the time with my clients who have these health conditions. Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much for joining. I understand you may gain weight and that is it's okay, or you may stay the same and never attain the thin body, and that's okay. But how do you get over the mental dislike of this? Yes, you get over the mental dislike of that through support, through conversation, through changing the beliefs that we have. Part of that is believing that neither, number one, you have to lose weight because you're pressured to lose weight, believing that your worth is tied to the size of your body. And so we do a lot of limiting belief work. So if you're holding on to a limiting belief around your body, around your weight, then we've got to really look at the messages that created that belief. We've got to look at that limiting belief a little bit closer, and we've got to reframe that limiting belief into what we call an empowering belief. And then that's when and how we change the neural pathways in your brain. And that takes time. It's a process, but it absolutely can happen. And with that, we utilize self-compassion and kindness. And like I said, support all together will help you get over the mental dislike of that. But yes, it does take time, but it is possible to get to a place of really feeling comfortable with where your body lands. And here's the other thing, right? as I said, and you understand that, like, we don't know where it will land. And through the process of intuitive eating, through the process of regaining that trust in yourself, your weight can do a couple of different things. Initially, your weight may go up, then it might come back down a little bit, but we don't know. It's so fluid based on your experiences that you're having, right? It'll land somewhere, and then where you see it lands, it may eventually land at a place that is higher or lower than somewhere during the journey. And then we do the work of body image healing. We really look at the body image, the story around your body image, the messaging, the perception of being in a little larger body. So there, it is possible. I hope that answered just a little bit for you, Teresa. Teresa, were you at the webinar last night? Okay. Next question is, let's go back. Anybody was able to submit questions relating to anything around intuitive eating or the Intuitive Eating Basics course? So let me go with the next question. The next question is, in the Intuitive Eating with Basics with Support course, please review the group coaching component. Yes. So, one of the things that I had shared is that it's hard to go this alone. You don't have to go this alone. Support is important. And whenever I put an offering out there, I want to be sure that my clients are going to be able to have the most success as possible. And so with that said, I have, for this first time, this is the first time I've actually offered this type of support with the Intuitive Eating Basics course. So this is a course, just so you know, that is a dip your toes into intuitive eating. Get familiar with intuitive eating. Get a taste of intuitive eating without a very large commitment right now, but where you can still get support to begin to dismantle the diet cultures, begin to uncover those limiting beliefs, Teresa, that you have perhaps around your body, and reframe some of those beliefs around your body. Tap into hunger and fullness signals, and so forth. And so the support that I talked about last night in the group coaching component is within my intuitive nutrition circle. That is a membership program that I have women who are on the journey through cultivating a healthy relationship with food and body, and we meet twice monthly. So we meet on the second and the fourth Mondays of every month, and we have group coaching, we have Q&A, we have hot seats, laser coaching, whatever you need. So as you work through the modules on intuitive eating basics, you come to the group calls, you can ask questions, you can have a laser coaching session within that community as well on that call. And we have a community forum, which is off of social media. It is a separate community forum. You can access it through your phone if you're on the go and you need support, or like I said, it's there 24/7 for you in the community. So that's the group coaching component. If you have any other questions for the person that submitted, please let me know. Pop a comment in here or just email me. Okay, the next question submitted is, I find I quote unquote overeat at events that I go to. I want to taste everything. So how do I stop this? She says. So I don't know the full story on the individual who submitted this question. If you're with us, let me know. However, my interpretation of this question is being that most of the people who have drawn to me have chronically dieted. Perhaps that you've been restricting before going to this event. So if you were restricted before you went to the event, then number one, you arrive at the event in a too hungry state. Have you ever said, well, I'm going to a party tonight, so I'm going to save up my calories or save up my points, or, eat lightly. Any of this is diet mentality. And then you're going to get there and you're so hungry. We have, what's probably hits is what we call primal hunger. And that's this intense urge to eat. And that is a biological component. And it's your body pretty much saying, hello, you've been starving me and now you got to eat. And when you feel in those situations that you're eating out of control, let me tell you, it is natural. It is your body, again, trying to save you. And so it feels like, oh my God, I don't have willpower. Oh my God, I'm not able to, quote unquote, control myself. But it is natural. Anytime you, quote unquote, undereat, anytime you restrict like that, you're going to, at the first opportunity to eat, when you see that food, it is going to feel intense. But anytime someone doesn't fuel their bodies because they're intentionally restricting, it is very, very common to have food obsession and feel like the out of control, intense eating. So I ask you to think about, is there restriction going on the day of, and or have you been restricting leading up to the event so you can fit into a dress, you can look a certain way? I call this event dieting. How many of you have dieted for an event? Right? Have you've dieted for an event? Oh my God, I got to get into this dress. I got to look the best. So I'm going to restrict. And then all of a sudden you go to the event, right? You might be in the dress, but you're at the event. And now again, that restriction leads to deprivation and ultimately leads to this rebound eating. And that's the overeating and binge eating that you're talking about. So whoever asked this question, my gut feeling is that there's some form of restriction, either the day of the event or for several weeks, months prior to the event, leading you to feel out of control. So how do you stop? Well, the answer is lift the restrictions, lift the restrictions. All right, next question is, how long does it take to become an intuitive eater? All right, interesting question, right? So we are born intuitive eaters, but unfortunately, due to several things such as growing up and messages and just eventually tapping into, the dieting world, right? You've moved away from your ability to be an intuitive eater. So how long it takes to get back to being an intuitive eater is very much determined by several factors. So how long you've been dieting, how strongly entrenched, say that word again, how strongly entrenched your diet mentality is, how long you've been using food to cope with your emotions, how willing you are to put weight loss on that side shelf for just a bit, right? Not intentionally pursue it. So you can learn to trust yourself again. So there's a lot of factors that play into this. So it's very difficult to say, oh, it's only going to take a few months. No, it could take a year. It could take 2 years. It could take up to 5 years. Here's the thing, right? It's a practice. More than likely, within a short period of time of being able to reject the diet mentality, you will begin to hear the intuitive eater from within waking up. And there are several different phases you go through on your intuitive eating journey. You're most often going to be in stage 2, which is really exploration phase, where you're really learning all about your body and eating again and reconnecting to your body and eating experiences and tapping into hunger and fullness. And then eventually there'll be crystallization, where the intuitive eater from within wakes up. Okay, so all of that can happen throughout the process, and then until you are eventually living as an intuitive eater, free flowing, it's second nature for you. Well, that length of time does depend on the individual. It's a practice. So let me compare it to, if you meditate or you practice yoga. This is a practice, right? You don't go on yoga to go off yoga. You don't go on meditation to go off meditation, right? It's a practice. Same thing with intuitive eating. It's a practice. Okay, next question is measuring your portions ever, quote unquote, okay? Well, when we're learning intuitive eating, the answer to that is no. We don't measure our food. Our body is that internal indicator. We stop, we ask how hungry I am, about how much food might I need to fill the hunger, and we explore as we're eating and we stay tuned in. We do not need measuring cups. We do not need scales, food scales. We do not need any of that anymore. All right, time for a little commercial break, guys. Okay, so we're here doing an AMA, Ask Me Anything. We had a great webinar last night. I opened the doors to Intuitive Eating Basics with Support. Intuitive Eating Basics with Support is a self-paced course where you will dismantle diet culture messages, detox from diet culture. You will learn to get reconnected with your hunger fullness signals. You will redefine your self-worth away from numbers, and you will bust through some roadblocks that are pretty common on this journey, all while really learning to appreciate your body and learn to eat without guilt. Now, there is support built in, because within this program, the Intuitive Eating Basics course is only $299 on a special. You can save $200 now. And included in that is the first month in the In Circle. The In Circle is the Intuitive Nutrition Circle, and it is my membership. And that's where we will have group coaching and daily coaching and support within the community forum. So doors do close Friday, the 18th at 5 p.m. Eastern. I highly recommend you say yes to this because after the doors close, you could still get in, but it's $200 more. So why not get in at the lower price during this week of promotion? In addition, if you say yes to yourself by tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern, you will also get a fast action bonus of my Food is Your Ally menu and recipe ebook. So it is well worth it, guys. So just go to that link you see on the screen, intuitiveeatingbasics.com/with support, and get signed up before the doors close on Friday. All right, that's the end of the commercial. Let's get to the next question. The next question is, what do you do if your doctor wants you to lose weight quickly? You can't, wait, what did she write here? If you lose weight quickly, oh, and you can't wait for your weight to stabilize. In other words, the doctor's pressuring you and saying, listen, you got to lose weight fast because of X, Y, or Z. So I think it's time to educate the doctor that fast weight loss will never be sustainable and actually can cause more harm than good. Studies have shown that those who weight cycle, that means yo-yoing up and down, up and down, up and down, will have worse health outcomes than those who stabilize their weight, even if it's at a little bit higher weight than that doctor wants them to be at. So I would highly recommend you talking to your doctor, explaining this. And if your doctor doesn't support you on it, maybe you get a second opinion. Next question. I have prediabetes and I have trouble with my glucose over the weekend when I eat more food and drink some wine. So this individual goes on to say that she explained to me the types of food she eats over the weekend. She's happy. She eats until she's full, but Sunday morning, her blood glucose is a little higher than she'd like it to be. And so she would like some suggestions. So, there's a lot to say. Yes, I am a certified diabetes care and education specialist. I work with clients that do have diabetes and prediabetes, and we do that from a weight neutral perspective. Again, that means we don't focus on weight loss as a treatment for prediabetes or diabetes. And so for you who submitted this question, you might find it beneficial to download my ebook about managing your diabetes without dieting. It does give you a lot of great information on variables that impact your blood sugar level. Remember, food is one of them. So it may have nothing to do with the food you're eating over the weekend and so much to do with so many of these other variables. So you just have to just go to my website, brghealth.com, click on the page for diabetes, and there will be a pop-up to an ebook download. And then you can get some ideas from that ebook. There's a little video that goes along with it. And, you just may need some customized guidelines if, in fact, those things don't help you. So I'm really not able to give more specific recommendations to you on a forum such as this, as I do not know your history. And there's a lot that I would need to know to give you proper recommendations on that. But I do think the ebook download will be very valuable for you. Okay, next question. If I want to stop dieting and start intuitive eating, what do I do if my partner is still dieting? Oh my gosh, such a great question. Such a great question. It's hard, right? If you are living with somebody who is a dieter and you've realized that I don't want to diet anymore, it's never worked for me, it's never going to work for me, but your partner still wants to diet, here's the thing. You really need to just respect each other and support each other with whatever you're doing. When you're working on your intuitive eating journey, remember, you're not on anything, right? So it's a little bit easier actually for you to prepare meals because you don't have the restrictions like your partner might have about, no, I can't eat this, I can only eat that. So perhaps your partner might need to get involved in some of the meal prep and the food shopping for his or her foods and meals. If let's say you're in charge of the meal prep and they're not willing to eat what you're preparing, then they may need to get involved with that. Um, but you cannot change your eating for somebody else. We have to always respect our own bodies, right? So if you've made the decision to learn intuitive eating, you just keep going on your journey. Let your partner do with what he or she wants to do about eating, but stay true to who you are. Bring in the foods that you know that you want to neutralize, that you want to incorporate into your eating world, and just have that conversation and have that support with each for each other, and sit down and say, look, I've decided to give up dieting, and you may still want to diet, and that's okay. I respect your decision if you're not ready to give that up, or if you are finding success in your own right. But I haven't, and this is the pathway that I'd like to choose. So I would love it if you could share, if you can support me, and then be very specific in what type of support that you would like. In addition to that, I would highly recommend setting boundaries. We talk a lot about boundaries in the community, setting boundaries. And so you really might want to suggest that we have a boundary at mealtime, that you don't look at what I'm eating and then roll the eyes, or you don't say you're eating that, you're allowed to. It's really, really important to set the boundaries. If you need help with that, just let us know, reach out. All right. So these are the questions that were submitted. If you have a question that you didn't get a chance to submit, you can go ahead and put it in the chat box, tag me. I will come back and I will respond to it. I will get this replay out to everybody who signed up for the webinar for last night. And let me know if you have any further questions on that. And don't forget, Intuitive Eating Basics with Support. The course, the doors do close Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. You can save $200. It's only $299 for the entire course, as well as the group coaching in the In Circle. So go check it out at the link you see here, intuitiveeatingbasics.com/with support. And I hope to see you in the program. That's it for now. Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.